What happened?
Hi, I'm here.
The intro ends and I don't see our guest. I just hear slamming.
Hi. There was something in the background that was bothering me.
This might have been the best opening to a Typhoon ever.
Surprise!
Because I didn't know what to say. I'm like, where the hell go? Hey, everybody. Welcome to Typhoon Anna.
Welcome to nothing.
Part 3, where Anna answers all your fun and titillating and exciting bookkeeping questions. Yay!
Woo.
Now, when I say it's the not glamorous part of this job, Anna thinks it is. So, see, it is all in perspective because I love what I do. I love hunting for the stuff. I love selling it. I love listing it. I love shipping it. Some people don't like those certain parts. And people are like, why dig through old used stuff? I love that. Mm-hmm. Because Anna and I have plenty of friends in our circles that had moved on to Amazon and making their own products, and they make a lot more money than me. But I've looked at that and I'm bored out of my mind. And so at this age, pay my bills, I have a decent life. And so I don't need to make more money and then be bored. I'd rather enjoy every moment of what I do. And Anna's that way with numbers. I don't understand it.
I agree. Well, and I sell stuff too. I can tell you about my Facebook marketplace and this cool Lego thing I sold on eBay recently. I mean, I'm in there too. It's fun. And
your hubby has a lot of collectibles and he sells a bunch too. So yeah, her husband had the ultimate man cave of action figures. It looked like a store, and it was pegboard with the hooks with the action figures hanging on the pegboard, but they were 3 action figures deep.
Right. All the way around. 1 and 2 deep. So well, I'll take a picture and put it in the secret beach so you guys can see. It's really cool.
But, unfortunately for the rest of us who are like, numbers do not excite me this much, we have to worry about this because, and the big because is laws change all the time. This current administration got rid of some things we used to be able to write off. And who knows what the next administration will do. So when those things change, if you're not up to date on it, and most of us wouldn't be unless we had an accountant, you got to know. Someone's got to be able to tell you, oh, you can't do that no more. Because that's when you get a little, hi, this is the IRS. What are you doing? Keeping writing these things off that we told you not to for 4 years. Oops. So for those who may be meeting you for the first time, how long have you been into numbers? Were you a kid?
No, actually, I started off college as a Russian major. I don't know if you knew that about me or not.
I don't think so.
No. And then I changed. Yet. Then I changed it got a little bit hard after about 1.5 years. I'm like, no, because, you and I were born the same year. So when we were in high school, it was like Russia and all this stuff and Soviet spies. And I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm like, this is going to be what I want to be a spy. I quickly learned that was like a cool thing, but probably not the most realistic career goal. So long story short, I eventually changed to accounting and I fell in love. I love the puzzle of it. I love it is a puzzle and putting all the pieces together. So it's kind of like spying, but not on people, just like in numbers. So and
I get that. Like, I love the game Tetris, and I love when I'm packing the tubs for the postman because they got to be packed specifically so it's easy for him to carry. So you got to Tetris things in there. I love when we're traveling and we're trying to fit all the breakables that we bought back into the carry-ons perfectly. And so, yeah, I get that. I get wanting to solve the puzzle, and you took it to like, that's going to be my career. I want to solve the puzzle for everyone else. Now, like the cobbler's kids didn't have good shoes, are your numbers all a mess?
No, are you kidding? I make my grocery list in Excel.
Shut up.
I do. I just like it better.
You are a nerd. And you're a nerd because you're still using Excel. Who uses Excel anymore?
What do you use?
Google?
No.
A, it's free, but you can access it from anywhere in the world. It's super duper easy.
Don't listen to him. Listen to me.
No. You using that Excel on your AOL dial-up?
Shut up. No, I have a Gmail account. Thank you very much. You bring up a good point. We all have to do what works for us. And one of the biggest mistakes people make about accounting is they try to overcomplicate it. And it does not have to be complicated.
Debbie's puzzle is always missing pieces. All right. So one thing, oddly enough, we touched on right before we went live. I said, let's continue that. People are under the misconception that if you don't get a 1099, you don't have to pay taxes.
Yes, and that is a big misconception. I have even seen people in our community say, "Oh, I'm at 19,000. I better stop now." No, don't do that. You still, I don't care if you have less than 200 transactions. I don't care if you have less than $20,000. You still have a responsibility to pay taxes on that. Because think about it. If that was how it worked, people just open up a million different stores and never pay taxes. Doesn't work that way. Sorry.
Plus, why would you want to stop selling? If you are selling, that means you're being successful. Exactly. You know, I never understood that because I've seen that for the 20 plus years I've been online. Oh, I'm getting close to that threshold. I should probably stop now. Why? Like, look, for those who don't know, my books were a hot mess because there really wasn't any. And so when Thrift Hunters came along and I was going to be very visible, Stacy's like, we got to get your stuff correct. And so I made myself an LLC. I got myself my tax preparer. And then Anna said, and now it's time to fix your books. And so she was so sweet to come over one day with her, one of her workers. And man, they just were like, oh my gosh. But ever since then, my books have been right because Anna takes care of them for me.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, that's really the thing. Everyone gets behind in different areas of your life. Don't beat yourself up. Make a plan and get it caught up. And we are at a point in time where people are busy now with Q4 stuff, Christmas and holiday sales. But come January, it's a good time to start thinking about getting things organized so that you can get your taxes done in time.
Yeah, I got to say, the end of the year, I never thought was as important as it is. I used to do like my inventory at the start of the year. Okay, so where we at for the taxes. But like 3 or 4 years ago, I did an inventory in October, which I never usually did. And my shelves were a mess. And so like your numbers, I'm like, oh my God, here's 50 things on the shelf that weren't for sale. How are they going to sell at Christmas if they're not for sale? And so I made sure to go through it all and get it. And I do that every year now. Like I make sure it's come correct by November 1. And same with your taxes. You got to make sure. Now, that brings me to my first question is when you're getting close to the end of the year, if you have to make a big expenditure for your business, a legit business expenditure, is it better to do it at the end of the year than as part of the write-offs? Or is it better to start the new year with like, I just dropped $10,000 on the desk?
Well, I mean, obviously it's allowable to use some strategy. So if you know that at the end of the year, you're going to have a loss in this year, it may be worth it to postpone that large expenditure until the following year. However, what you don't want to do is you don't want to game the system and do something that's inappropriate. And here's an example of something to not do. I have seen where people, and I'm just going to say it because you can go online and figure it out, where people make a large end of the year purchase and then they return it in January.
See, I didn't think about that.
Do not do that. So you can't game the system, but you can certainly use some strategy. One thing I recommend that people do if they have a subscription to some kind of online service, if you can pay for a whole year instead of each month, and you can do that in December, you're going to pay for it anyway. Why not do that? Keep in mind, then you will not get any of the deduction in the following year. So, you know, the same amount of money is going to come out of your business. So if you think about where you might be from a tax perspective, you can just postpone or go ahead and take it this year.
All right. I like that. Now, something we never talked about. We've done this a couple of times. We never talked about, and I was thinking about it the other day. So what if you had a business expense like a computer, laptop, and you end up losing it or it gets stolen from you? And of course, you need to go buy a new one or you're out of business.
Right.
What if you just bought the laptop, say, in like April and you lost it in like October to buy another one? Will that be something they're like, why are they buying so many computers? We should probably audit them.
Nobody knows what the audit flags are. If I knew that, I would not be here with you. I would be doing something out on some beach in Tahiti, a bazillionaire. Nobody knows what those are. However, if you have a legitimate business transaction too, one, you purchase the stuff in April, and let's say something happens in November, and I don't know, it gets knocked into a pool, and insurance maybe going to repay you. So what one could do is you could say, all right, I'm going to use business funds. I've got to replace this. And then you can put that on your books as a receivable so that when insurance pays you, you get reimbursed. If you do not get reimbursed, then you could consider taking that as an expense because it is a legitimate business expense. And really the IRS definition is ordinary and necessary.
Ah, the necessary part. Got it.
Right. And it was ordinary to have a computer, and one could argue necessary also. You can't continue. There's shades of gray. There's no guarantee that if you did do that, the IRS wouldn't ask question, but make sure you get advice from your tax CPA before you do any of this stuff. But there are times when you do have something and then you have to replace it a couple of months later. If insurance didn't repay you, then that's actually possibly a legitimate business expense. Here's an example of something that's not. And someone asked this in the group the other day. Let's say I was going to source at one store and another, and I happen to get a speeding ticket along the way. They're asking for a friend.
Yeah. Say personal story.
So there's two things, the ordinary and necessary. Is it ordinary? Yeah, sure. People get speeding tickets. Is it necessary to speed? Probably not. But if you put, I don't know. But if you put all that to the side, you cannot take a business deduction for any kind of fines or violations or fees that were something punitive. So it's a big no every way you look at it.
So there's a Jim defying the you can't be open order, and he's racked up 1.2 million in fines. I'm guessing he can't write that off on his taxes.
No, he cannot. No, he cannot. I mean, he could try. He could maybe get away with it. But my suggestion professionally, we don't do that. So wait a minute. Someone has a gym and they've just left it open.
And they taunt the authorities on YouTube.
Oh, God. All right. Well,
they've been arrested a bunch of times. It's amazing.
What in the world?
Not only open, but no social distancing, no masks.
I mean, that's probably a whole different show. But that's
yeah. But I'm like, you can't write those fines off, can you?
No.
Now, how long you been doing reseller in the reseller communities? How long you been doing the accounting for us resellers?
Gosh, probably since about 2012 or 13. I've always sold stuff online because I just enjoy it. I don't do a lot of that, but it's always been a world I've been interested in. But I've been doing this for a long time, and I really enjoy it. It's kind of nice to have a community that I can get to know professionally and personally, and it's not as boring as other kinds of accounting. So I feel very lucky.
Yeah, and that's true. And so in those last 7 or 8 years, have any of your clients come to you such a mess you're like, and I'm going to pass?
You know what? I have had clients who don't realize they're a mess, and they give me all their stuff, and I do their numbers, and I look at the bottom line, and I think, this will not be a fun phone call. And we have the phone call. I'm actually not really a CPA. I'm actually an unlicensed therapist is what I actually am. Don't turn me in. Honestly, I do more therapy calls than number calls. But, in general, people are like, well, this is my fault. I wish I'd kept up with my numbers. I should have known. Because people get into this cycle of saying, well, my sales have increased. I must be doing better. And it's, sales is a vanity metric. That does not tell you how well you're doing. It's important, but that's not it. And Jason, you've probably seen that too.
Oh yeah, because so you've been helping me out for I think 6 years now, 5 years, something like that. And so seeing the numbers the first time was like, whoa. And then in those last 5 or 6 years, I've had good years and bad years in those 5 or 6 years. Nothing atrocious where I'm like on the street begging for money, but I'm like, oh, that didn't work out as I thought. But then I've been hustling hard the last 2 years, and my numbers look a lot better, to the point where even Anna sent me a message one day and went, wow. So, when I went to my first eye doctor ever, and he goes, put your eyes in the thing. We have never met, obviously. And he looks through the other end and goes, oh. I go, you couldn't warm up to that? So when you get the other side of that, when your accountant goes, wow. I'm like, yes. High five, self.
Yes.
and wait till you see this last quarter. Holy shit, are we on fire?
Yay, I'm excited for you.
I think I've shipped 350 packages in like the last 2.5 weeks. It's been
my gosh.
Yeah. All right. So it's not about me and Anna just kibitzing. It's about you guys. So what are your questions now? They have to be specific, but not 17 parts. Every once in a while we get that question that's like subset B part 11. But all right, so Debbie wants to know if you do marriage counseling too.
Believe it or not, those are intertwined. I do have some clients who are husband and wife teams, and it can be really difficult. And I know that you're kind of joking about it, but really the whole point of having a business is so that your personal financial goals can be met. Nobody says, I want to have a business because I want a business. That's not what you're doing it for. You're doing it so your personal financial goals can be met. So my suggestion is to make sure that you know what your personal financial goals are. It could be just you personally. It could be you and a partner. It could be you and a spouse, whatever it is. Make sure you know that, because that should drive everything.
I don't know if a ton of people know this, but Stace was off work for a little while, and she's on to a new company. That is awesome. But when she was off work, I made sure to hustle extra hard because I wanted to make sure that everything was covered. And there were times where she has been the breadwinner, and there are times where I've been the breadwinner. So if you're in that relationship where you can pick up the slack when needed, that's awesome. And then if you're both firing on all cylinders, that's the best.
It is the best. Well, she would have killed you too if you hadn't. Oh, and I want to say one thing real quick about that. All this joking aside, one of the things that I hear people in our community say that their spouse or significant other complains about is investing in inventory. And here's the way that you can make sure that doesn't become a sore spot. Do not have, what do we call them? Not death piles, but opportunity.
Profit piles.
Yes. Make sure that you really do list what you buy. And I know that kind of goes, without saying, but that is actually the one thing that I hear from people that their spouse and significant others complain the most about.
Good tip. All right. We got our first question from the actual chat. Paul says, do you have a basic spreadsheet for sellers to keep track of what you need for taxes, like a little cheat sheet?
I do. You can go on my website, accountingwewillgo.com, and I have a whole bunch of, I don't know, they're posts. I don't want to say blog posts because I'm not there blogging about accounting because no one will read it. But go on my, it's true. Like me, I would read it. That would be it. Not even my husband would read it. But you can go on there and you can find, I've got all kinds of stuff, but that's something I have. And I have a walk through the Schedule C where I just kind of talk about each of the items on the report. Obviously, I'm not giving tax advice, but I'm giving you kind of general information.
And I'm glad you just said that because it's the one thing that way back when I started running Facebook groups, if I give you advice about buying this cup and you don't make as much money as you should have, nothing really happens other than you might lose $1 or $2. But if I give you tax advice and what happens is you end up in jail, that's like the one advice that if it goes wrong, it could go horribly, horribly wrong. And so that's why I always recommend hire a professional. That's the one advice I don't want anyone giving in any of my groups, except for Anna, because Anna is a professional. That's the only person who's allowed to give advice because bad advice could really mess you up for life.
It can. And ironically, because I am a professional, I do not give advice. I can give general information, but I would never say this is or isn't tax deductible. I mean, there are some obvious yes and no's, but, I try to just say in general, this is probably what you would expect.
All right. Becky says I'm a tax hot mess. I'm late to the party. So you have to watch in the game. Now, the beginning, we talked about a little bit, wasn't anything super important, but I was a mess too. And so the only way to really get out of a mess, short of going to school for yourself to become an accountant, is to hire someone to do it for you because it's eye-opening. It costs money to pay someone to do it, obviously, but it is eye-opening, and you start to really understand your business way better, where you need to excel a little bit more, or maybe like I need to do this a little bit more, or this a little bit more, or this a little bit less. Shopping.
Well, and I know you're joking about being a tax hot mess. I will tell you, even I don't like doing taxes. I am a CPA. I do not do my own taxes. I hire someone to do it. I do a different kind. I do, the behind the scenes accounting, all the financial reports that go to the tax CPA. So, taxes are not for everyone, and no judgment at all. It's so easy to let it build up. And there's this cycle, like I call it the tax dysfunction cycle. People are behind in January. They build up, they have all the stress, and they get it caught up and they say, I'm never getting behind again. And then they get behind. So,
yeah.
And it's better just to say, this is my cycle. I'm not going to keep up with it. I'm going to have a big code red in March and April. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. When we go to our tax lady every spring, tax lady and our doctors and stuff, I just don't pay attention because it's useless for me to pay attention because Stacy's on top of it. So while we're sitting at her desk, I'm like a teenager. I'm like, what? 7. And then if things are not going well, I'm just sucking my thumb. Like,
Anna, where's the Verizon? It's in telephone expense.
Yeah. I'm like, Anna, we're going today. Be on call.
You do.
And without fail, every year, I'm like, where is this?
It's always something. But it's a very human experience. It's not the most fun thing in the world. Oh, Carol, hi.
Can I ask about tax setup with state and federal government, the names being different? I don't know if I understand the question exactly.
I think what Carol means is she has a question about tax obligations and reporting related to the state versus the U.S. government, because you do have to file both of those.
So what's your exact question, Carol? So we'll circle back to you, Carol. Give us a little more details. My mom's got a question.
It's making a carrot juice drink right now.
Not an eBay question for my son. If I order magnetic strips for his business and he puts them on his car, can he write off his car payment or mileage? So my brother just opened his own salon in a building that houses a bunch of micro businesses, basically.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
And so now, because it's his own business, he wants to advertise. So if he does wrap his car, put magnets on, can he write his car payment or mileage off?
As is common in this environment of taxes, it depends. So it can get really complicated. But basically, if you start with one method, mileage deduction, you cannot switch to actual expenses unless there's certain things happen. So if you already own a vehicle and then you decide to only use it for business, make sure that you've talked with a tax CPA to find out whether or not you can make the switch, what documentation you need, and then what option is best. I have a client and he literally wanted to know if it was okay to expense a high-end luxury vehicle, and he had used business funds to purchase this vehicle. But again, it goes to ordinary and necessary. Is it necessary to have a vehicle? Yes. Is it ordinary to have this luxury $80,000 vehicle to source from Target? No, it's not.
I was so hoping you were going to say, I had this client who wanted to know if a high-end hooker could be an expense.
Hey, I'll let you decide if that's ordinary and necessary.
So when I take clients to the strip club, can I write that off?
Hey, you know what's interesting about that? They changed the tax laws. Remember, we started off talking about that.
Yeah.
Meals and entertainment used to have a different, more easily deductible scenario than they do now. So that's changed a lot. The days of, people going to some, adult entertainment lounge to do business it's gone.
You think that's ever going to change back to the way it was?
I don't think so, because that really wasn't a political party associated change. That was really just a common sense. Come on, people.
Very good. All right. Stephanie says, I have a YouTube channel and a reselling business. Should I have two companies with two separate expense logs, or would it be better to have one umbrella company?
This is a great question. I get this a lot. And again, it depends. Part of it is materiality. If you have one business that's the reselling business and then this teeny weeny YouTube thing, it's probably okay just to have everything under one. However, you can file two separate tax returns, but you need to make sure they're two actual different lines of business. So if you have the YouTube channel and the reselling and the related, and you decide you want them under one EIN, that's probably okay. But I have to be really careful about advice on this related to entity structure, because it gets into legal stuff as well. I will say, though, that this is a good example where people tend to overcomplicate it and they want to have everything all separate. And then in the end, they go to their tax CPA and he or she is like, we're just doing one return. So why did you do all of this? Because what happens is inevitably one business has the money, let's say the reselling business does, and the YouTube channel doesn't, but you want to get advertising for YouTube. So then the reselling business pays for it. And then it just combines into one big fat mess. So the long short of it is consult with your tax person and then be faithful to whatever they suggest.
So Stephanie, for me, so I got my LLC and it cost, in this state, it cost, I think, $600 a year. But it was nice to then I was able to go open my business checking account and my business credit cards. And then it was so super sweet to have everything paid to the LLC, and everything, all the expenses. So at the end of the year, it's so easy to go, here's personal, which you don't need really. Here's professional. And, I got paid from a TV production company. I get paid for my eBay sales. I make money too on YouTube. I do my own direct sales. So I got all these multiple streams of income going on, but it's just one LLC that covers everything. And actually I changed it to an S corp for tax purposes. That saved me money, but I had to get to that point. I had to be doing a lot of different shit to get to that point. So for now, LLC, which kind of leads into Linda's next question. When's it time to get an LLC?
Well, and again, you should talk to your tax CPA about that. A lot of it too has to do with liability. So, people think if they can get an LLC, I can never be sued. Well, that's actually not really true. As wonderful as it would be, if that was the case, everyone would get an LLC and there would be no suing. That's not how it works. So, you have to make sure it's a standalone entity. You cannot have an LLC that you keep funding with personal money, because there's no point in doing the LLC if it can't stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And like Jason said, he had to do a lot of work to get to the point to even be able to change from the LLC to the S Corp. So in general, I can tell you that there's this rule of thumb that's floating around out there. People usually say around $100,000 in sales. I don't necessarily agree with that. But the reason people say that is they're talking about how much it costs to actually establish it, and the fees, the separate tax return, all of that. So that doesn't exactly answer your question, but I hope it gives you some criteria to be thinking about.
So what I would say, Linda, if you're just you at home selling, and not to belittle what you do, but if it's just you selling online, I don't see that nearly as the time to need it. But if you're going to start doing multiple things and you're going to be doing all this stuff, it definitely helps when you get to like, I got like 13 different ways money's coming in, and it's just so much easier. That's all coming through the LLC. It does offer some protection. Like Anna said, you can still be sued, but it was so nice. And then kind of like Anna said, she's loves the puzzle of the numbers. We started having the S Corp conversation. Talking to Anna and talking to our tax preparer, it was like my head hurts. I'm like, just show me the numbers. Okay, if you spend this money to be an S Corp, you're going to save this much more. Sign. Where do we do it? Let's go. Moving on. Just tell me the bottom line. Is it going to be monetarily beneficial? Then let's do it. And it was crazy. Like, I had to drop some coin, but then I saved even more of it. So as Anna said, if it's going to make financial sense, then yes, follow your professionals down the path of least resistance. Like
I want to say one more thing about that. For people who are operating as a sole proprietor, even if it is an individual, be sure you have a separate bank account for that. It doesn't have to be a business bank account at Chase. You can have 2 personal accounts, but do keep all of that separate. You're just going to invite question later if you're ever audited. It makes it easier at tax time. So definitely get a separate bank account for your business, no matter what, even if it's a sole proprietor and there's no LLC.
And here's the best part, the part you don't know about till after it happens. So I'm in my lawyer's office and he goes, what's the name of your company? Your LLC. And my friends had always been called me Big Girl, and I'll tell that story someday, but I got called Big Girl quite a bit. And so I said, Big Girl LLC, and he kind of chuckled, and that's how we did it. Now, once you become an LLC, you get on a bunch of phone trees where they're like, they want to, because they think you're a regular like brick and mortar business. So you get all these calls from credit card companies. Can we put our terminal in your business? That kind of horse shit. And they call and ask for the LLC name. So the phone rings. I go, hello. And then they read it for the first time on the phone. They're like, is Big Girl there? And then I go, yeah, this is Big Girl. And then it's just dead silence. So if you're going to make an LLC, make it something fun for you. So when you get the phone calls, you just giggle all the time. All right. Becky said she's a hot mess, basically. I need a list of things that I can deduct and need to keep track of it. If it helps if I have a checklist. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I would say, Beck, if you're really at the point where you're a mess and you have no idea, you should definitely take some money and hire somebody, because rum burps. Sorry. It isn't going to be just, here's your checklist, right, Anna? We need to know that you're doing this so you can do this, that kind of thing, right?
Right. But what you can do also, if you want to kind of get a little preview so that you don't feel so, I hear you say, I have no idea what I'm doing. This will help a little bit. Go online to the IRS website and just look at a Schedule C. That is the form that you're going to use, whether you're an LLC or sole proprietor. And look at top line, how much revenue. And then it has an entire list of expenses, and you can see what kind of stuff is deductible. And remember, I mentioned having a separate bank account, even if you're just selling as an individual. Then go through that bank account and say, yep, this was on the tax return. This was on the tax return. This wasn't. And it's really at least a good start for you. And I say this all the time, please hire a tax CPA to do your taxes. But I know that not everyone will do that. So that's something that you should really, should try to save for, because it can, if you invest in that, it's going to give you peace of mind and it'll save you trouble down the road. So when you possibly can, I recommend that. And I don't do taxes, so I'm not trying to get business for myself. You're on mute. I think you're on mute.
I was gonna say I don't have my wallet with me because who needs your wallet when you're wearing sweats in your office? But what I do is, because once I got the LLC, I got the business checking accounts and all the business credit cards, and I make it super easy. Like, you never ever do anything business on your personal card. Just, you could, and then it's more paperwork, but screw it, put it on your business. But I do credit cards personal on one side and the business credit cards on the other. That way I'm always know left side's business, right side's personal. So I go into my wallet. I screw up every once in a blue moon, but for the most part, I'm good at that.
Is it a Velcro wallet where business is on left and
no
on right?
All right, Debbie said, is there a certain amount of sales income when we have to pay quarterly taxes?
That's another, it depends. And one of the triggers for that also is whether or not an individual or business has been behind paying in the past. So it's not just a dollar amount, but it's also the history. And, you know, you can also opt to do it even if you're not required to. And I don't even want to try to give threshold amounts because there's a million scenarios for that.
Right, yeah. So if you've been bad in the past, do it.
Well, and it just kind of, you know, it's nice too, because you have peace of mind, like, hey, I've already paid for this.
Yeah. All right. Debbie said also, can I write off the cost of car insurance rider that I have for my car?
Oh, this is another one that gets complicated. I think someone fed you guys like
I said, hey, Deb, you got some questions? She goes, I got some questions. Debbie's pushing you tonight. She's like, to the limit.
He passed out like, here's the hard stuff. Let's trip her up this year. It depends on, and this, you're just going to have to ask your tax CPA, but it depends on whether or not you use the car for personal and business, where your business is located. Is it in your home? What part of the rider is it on? Is it on your homeowner's insurance? But if you have a car that's 100% business related and you're not operating out of your home, that could be different. This actually gets really complicated. So I'm glad that you asked about this.
All right. And then Snazzy was talking about what Steph was talking about. Snazzy has an art business and a reselling hustle. Should they be united or separate companies? My thought is, because we're all, and this is no slam on any of us, me included, we're all small potatoes compared to giant companies like Disney. And so until you get to the point where you're a big potato, I think one company is good for all these little things, unless one's kind of questionable. That'd be my thought.
Well, I won't ask you what questionable means, but
I live in Nevada. What if you're a hooker? Legal. What if you're a hooker and then you also resell toys on Amazon? You know, I might keep those separate, you know?
Hey, gambling debts are actually deductible to the extent of earnings.
Yeah, I usually have to do those. Not this year. We don't gamble because we don't go nowhere.
Same here.
Now this is different. Debbie says, our enrolled agent tax preparer always discourage us from getting an LLC.
Does everyone know what an enrolled agent is? I'm glad that this came up also. An enrolled agent is not a CPA, not that one is better than the other, but an enrolled agent is a person who does taxes only, and they have gotten a special certification from the IRS. So I'm saying go to your tax CPA to get help with your taxes, but you can also use an enrolled agent. Both the CPA and the enrolled agent can go to court on tax court on your behalf. An enrolled agent, though, has a different scope of what they do than a CPA, and there's nothing wrong with them. I think that's a good thing to consider. And if someone is using an enrolled agent and they're giving them entity structure advice, that's great. Follow it if you feel comfortable. I always tell my clients to talk with their attorney about entity structure, not just to listen to what their tax CPA says. But, you know, the last thing you want is like a million legal bills for lawyers and accountants trying to figure out whether or not you're going to save a couple $100s on your return. So, you know, at a certain point, you just need to make a decision. And as your business evolves, your entity structure may evolve too.
I got to make sure I give some love to my Jewish brethren. Here we go. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Ta-da.
Well, okay. I like the pigeon thing too. That was cute.
Yeah, but I can see how that could get annoying. All right, Carol says, here we go. State and IRS names are different. Like your name, IRS says proof my name agrees with them and state, but Amazon only recognizes my DBA with sale orders recognized with sale orders recognizing my DBA only. Suggestions?
I was shaking my head no, because I don't have any suggestions. I'm sorry. Amazon makes its own rules, as you know, Carol, and trying to get them to understand the reality of what the IRS and state laws and tax regulations say is impossible. So when you're saying the most important thing is you need to make sure that when you get a 1099, it is in the proper entity's name. So if you have a DBA, no matter whether you're sole proprietor or whatever you are, it doesn't matter. If you are sole proprietor, you have given Amazon your social security number, and that is what the IRS and the state are expecting a return to be filed under.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I got for the millionth time today eBay sellers who are shocked about managed payments. Where they've been for the past 2 years, I have no clue. I see it daily in other Facebook groups, and even my friends are like, what's this? I got to give eBay my checking account number now. This is bullshit. And I'm like, oh my God, don't you sell on other platforms? We had to do that already on other platforms. Like, this is not new.
Right.
Like, if you don't trust eBay, then you just can't sell. I mean, that's the bottom line. So, if you get a text message saying, send me your checking account number, don't do that. But if you're selling on a major multi-million or multi-billion-dollar platform, they're going to want your information.
Yeah.
If you want to sell, you got to give it to them. There is no workaround.
There is not. And you're right. That's kind of the price of entry. Along those lines, I have been getting this question a lot. What if I had managed payments and PayPal in the same year? Will I get a 1099? The answer is possibly. If you get a 1099, you may get one from both. It depends on that threshold. Remember, we were talking about the 20,000 and 200 item threshold. Even if you do not get a 1099 from both or neither, you still need to add up all of your sales and put that on your tax return.
So Linda says, so before you answer anything, what should we do if an LLC is not needed yet? And then Debbie said, then you're a sole proprietor, to which Linda said, I have one main business as a sole proprietor and several streams of income, and those all have different names. That's okay, right?
Yes.
And do you have multiple names, Linda? Should we be looking you up under, like, Mistress Mistress of the Dark? I mean, what's going on here, Linda? I got questions, Linda. I got questions for you, Linda.
Maybe she's doing like different types of things, like hamburgers here and, eBay stuff over there. I don't know, but it's associated with whatever the taxpayer ID is, whether it's social security number or an LLC EIN.
Can you get a separate checking account that is linked to your main checking account, or does it have to be totally separate?
I don't know that it matters. It doesn't matter if it's linked or not. If I understand your question, you just need to make sure that all of the deposits that go into that bank account for your business, whether it's a personal labeled account or not, are from your business, and all the expenses for your business are paid out of that. And if you do have enough money in your business account to pay for an expense, then you're moving from your personal account to your business account. And that's where the accounting gets a little hairy. That's called a contribution from owner. And yes, you can pay that back from your business to your personal account if you want to, but you don't have to.
And that's where I always get a little hairy, because I always double check with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how do I explain this again? Because when you send me my books every quarter, I got to tell you what different things are. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always, it's like I'm new. It's like I'm new. What do I call this again? Isn't it best when one pays themselves from their business to have it come from an LLC or some other business entity?
And this is a great example of why it's really important to have this discussion with your tax and legal professionals, because if you have certain types of businesses, any payments you make to yourself are actually just a removal of cash from the business. It is not a salary expense. Again, it depends on what type of business entity you have. If you have, in general, if you have an LLC and you pay yourself, that is not salary expense. You can have an LLC operating as different types of entities, and then it may be a salary expense. So that's one of the issues that gets really complicated, which is why it's important to strategize ahead of time. You can't wait until December 29th and say, ooh, which one is more beneficial? I want to backdate the formation.
I'm going to call you on the 30th this year. Like, hey, can I do that?
Great call.
So Linda says, I want big girl income someday. And Becky says, same. Yeah. I will say I have hustled hard Anna knows this. My wife knows this. My mom, like, people always say, you answer my message at 5 a.m., at 2 a.m. Do you ever sleep? I don't really sleep a lot. And so I hustle hard. I have always hustled. I had 2 jobs when I was 10, and I've never looked back from that moment on. So the times I like to be lazy and sit around watching football with my hand down in my pants in about 30 minutes, most of the day, it's hustling hard. So it's not something that just falls in my lap. I work my ass off for it every day, and I'm thankful for what I do. I'm thankful for all you guys. I'm thankful for Anna keeping my shit together.
Takes a village.
Yes, it does. All right, so we're back to Linda. I have one main business name, sole proprietor, and several streams of income for it. Oh, wait. Did I go backwards?
Yes.
It's cut and dry to me to sell items I bought to sell, but what about inventory that were personal possessions that you are selling? Clothes you no longer wear, personal collection, etc. Funny, I actually had an argument with Ann about this because I didn't understand it the first time. But so you bought a shirt, you wore it for a couple of years, you lost a lot of weight, you want to sell it now. How does that work?
Okay. I don't remember that we had an argument, but I'll take
Not an argument, but I was like, come on, it was free. And you're like, nothing's free.
Well, the technical accounting rule is inventory is listed at lower of cost or market. So if it's free, that's lower than market. But this comes into, I'm just going to cut to the chase. If you wore a shirt for a couple of years and wanted to sell it, then you cannot claim an expense for that. You just have 100% income for whatever you sold it for.
There you go.
Did I explain that in good layman's terms?
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is only probably specific to my mother because she's like a mad genius, somehow finds everything for a quarter. So she's not getting a receipt for quarter items at garage sales. She keeps track of her purchases in her own ledger. Is that good?
That is good, because if we all know, because I love a yard sale too, if you go to a yard sale and you ask the family who's running it to write you up a receipt of 800 things at a quarter, they're going to just make you leave and you're not going to get your stuff. That is on you. And what the IRS wants is a diligent, consistent effort. They don't want perfection. That's not possible. I have one client, and what he does is he'll go out yard sailing, and he spells it like sail, like on a ship. He goes out yard sailing. And when he brings the land yacht in, he actually takes a picture of the stuff, and he has a little ledger, and he puts it in Word, and he saves a picture of the things. And he's not listing them individually, but he's got the date, the stuff, and then he says, I bought 14 things for 25 cents each. You don't have to be that complicated, but it's totally fine to keep your own records like that.
And nowadays, with taking a picture, it's got the date and the time and where you were standing when you took the picture. So you've got this nice paper trail. And a lot of this is paper trail. Like if you ever do get in the government's crosshairs, you got to show the paper trail, or the digital paper trail in this case nowadays.
Exactly.
All right. Linda, my state has us send taxes every quarter. Can we do it just once a year? Can you say F off California? I'm doing it once a year.
That's between you and California. My personal recommendation would be to pay when they ask you to, but without looking at all the details, I can't give you a professional opinion.
And as I said, yes, thanks for turning the Santa pigeon off. I was going to cover it with a sticky note. Here, I'm going to put it back to a different tree because I had a variety of trees this year.
Yeah. Okay. That's cute. I like that.
All right. Where are we? Good questions tonight, everybody, too. Carol says, thanks. Anna?
You're welcome, Carol.
Shannon, I'm pretty sure Carol meant Amazon.
Yeah, I think she did too.
Yeah. Just catching up with chat. No questionable business entities here.
Oh, darn. That's no fun.
Okay, so Becky's back. A little more information. I have a CPA that does my tax for me. I just need extra help. I have an accountant for hair and makeup salon, and now one for reselling. Now, is this a good time where I can advertise your group?
You may do that.
All right, hold on. Let me screen share a different screen. Ba-dow, ba-dow.
And the group is free.
All right, so here's a free group that if you're not in, then I have not done my part by letting you guys know. But Anna, like we have the Secret Beach and the thrifting board, Anna has accounting. We will go fun with accounting. Now, if you want to join, I am one of Anna's admins, and I don't normally add people, but if it's you guys, I'll put you in. So if Anna's busy later and you want to join, go over there. If I see your name, if you don't mind, Anna, I'll just put them in.
I do not mind. And you're a taskmaster about that. I want to tell you guys, about 3 weeks ago, I need you to call me Hey, Jason, what's up? You haven't added people in a week. Are you okay? I'm like, I've been busy.
I was so worried because I would, I'm an admin in a couple friends groups who don't have really any other admins. But I said, look, in a pinch, you got me because I got your back. So if you're ever like, look, I'm on a plane to Fiji, take care of this. So I looked and I'm like, oh my God, there's like 100 people waiting, and it's been a week. So I was very worried about you. But I would never. And then what on the other end of that, one morning I texted Anna, I go, oh my God, I just added 20 people to your group. I thought it was in mine. I'm so sorry.
Well, you know what's funny about that influx? You know where they came from? TikTok.
Oh, wow.
There's someone on TikTok bragging about me, and I got all these people from TikTok. So it doesn't matter where they come from. Because my group is really important to me and I run it like NPR, it's very mission focused. I personally look at every single one of them, unless Jason goes wild and adds 20 at a time. Because I don't want people marketed to in my group. I don't want people to see, Ray-Ban advertisements or, boobs or whatever. I mean, it happens. Someone slips.
Are there boobs in your group? Oh, I got to go. See you later.
Naughty stuff pops up. I mean, it's happened.
Yeah, but that's why I'm there. If you're ever asleep and I'm rolling through, because I always stop in and take a peek around, because I had that one guy that we had to get rid of right away. That was just
yes.
Yeah. So if you could be your friend's right-hand admin just in a pinch and a different time zone, that's helpful too.
Well, and Jason knows I go to sleep at like 9 every night. And so you have half of your day left to go because I'm on East Coast, plus I'm an early bird. So between us, we have it covered for a 24-hour window.
All right. Paul says, as a low volume seller, is it better to do taxes as cash or a curl?
Accrual. Like it's
I'm like, I knew I wasn't saying that right.
Again, it depends. I can tell you that the definition of low volume, Debbie said, my head is exploding. The definition of low volume for me, for you, for Jason may be different. I can tell you that in general, people who define themselves as low volume usually do the cash basis. In my ideal world, every single person, even if they sold 2 things and that was it, would use accrual, but that's just not reasonable.
Yes, you have to get over your shyness if you want to step out and do other things, Linda. I have put my hand out to take your hand with me. I will introduce you and give you a push. I'm happy to do that. See, look, Steph said you can do it, Linda, and I'll be there holding your hand. I make it easy. When I do the shows and stuff, people are all nervous. At the end, they're like, "Oh, that was easy." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't make you do any heavy lifting. It's super sweet, easy."
I think too, it's an introvert extrovert thing. I'm not even sure that it's a shyness thing. I don't know. I'm borderline introvert extrovert, but I'm not uncomfortable doing this. So maybe that's it. I don't know.
I've started buying from auctions and buy lots of items. Let's say 100 Christmas ornaments for $15. How do I assign a value for each of the items when one may bring more money than others? I'm assuming you just divide it, and it doesn't matter what the profit brings.
Right.
It's the 100 divided by the 15.
Exactly. And, unfortunately, what we think we're going to get may not be what we're going to get. So, and sometimes we get more. So there's no way to do the valuation based on what we're going to get. It's really what you paid for it.
Yeah. So I bought, I was at an estate sale that they did an online auction. They broke down the guy's 1,500 CDs into like 20 lots, and I wanted them all. So I won them all. And so this lot cost more than this lot, but it was just whatever the average was divided by 1,500. It was. That's what it gets signed. Now, some of those are worth 150 and some are worth $5, but they all get the sign the same price. They're $1.15 each.
And that kind of makes things easier. And again, it's about having a consistent, diligent effort, not about perfection.
Debbie said she's never been asked to pay quarterly in California, Linda. And then Linda said, whoa, that's interesting. No worries, Shannon. Oh, Debbie said no worries. Boom, there we go. Oh, Carol said Anna's group is great. So if you've not joined Anna's group, come on over. I'll tell you right now, counting really isn't fun. To Anna, it is, but so it's not going to be a lot of flash and pomp and circumstance. But if you need help, there you go.
Well, and it's a nice group too for lurking when you have a question. No one's going to be hanging out there talking about accounting. I do get some people who do that, but have it as a resource and go there when you have questions.
Yeah, Janet just did a little Macari class in the Secret Beach, and she was great at it. So.
Good job. I have some clients who've done very well with that platform. I have one client who's done really well with Shopify too, like millions and millions of dollars. Oh,
that's awesome. So I was going to say, I was about to pull the plug on Shopify or is it Webix? The one that one of my guests used. I was about to build something. And then Facebook said, oh, hey, we got these new kind of shop things. You want to try one out? And so nothing to build, just make my catalog. And I had a little bit of a learning curve. I had a little mistakes, but I had the new mug release coming out and no fees till the end of the year. So I'm like, yes, please. So they built the better mousetrap, and all I got to do is show up with my stuff. So it's like a flea market. Someone owns the flea market. I just got to show up with my booth. And so I don't got to build it out. And so hell yeah, because I've got my glassware in there. And throughout the weeks, normally, I'm not just normally advertising it. And I get glassware orders 3-4 times a week. And so people are seeing it somehow. I mean, they follow my page, part of it. And I'm going to use it more, but I really liked it. And to go back to, oh my God, I don't want to give eBay my checking account. I gave Facebook my checking account, and I just did thousands of dollars in sales. I mean, it's easy to figure out. I'm selling 125 mugs at $129. Anyone can figure out what kind of money I'm bringing in. And with my checking account, as the tracking clears, they deposit money in my account. So one day it's $2,000, one day it's $3,000, one day it's $85, just depending on the flow of it. But if you want to sell online, you have to prove you're you and you're real. And so that's how you do it. You got to give up your stuff.
Yep. Are we going to talk about managed payments? What report to run?
Well, here's the deal. We can, and I'm glad you said that, because it's the one downfall for me helping teach people. I'm still not on it. So people come to me daily and I go, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not on it. I cannot teach you something I am not on. So go ahead. Yes, please tell us about managed payments, because
all you need to know for accounting. And the reason I know this, as Jason said, my husband sells online, and so, or he sells on eBay, I guess that's online. And so I was able to go onto his account and see. You go to, the landing page, then you go to reports, and then you go to payments, and right there, it's the transaction report. And it tells you how much you earned and what the fees were. And you just put in the range. So you could do for the entire year, you could do it for a month, whatever. It's a transaction report. It's just that simple.
Debbie says, I need to get the Facebook store too. It's going to be great. It's called Shops. So start, I always say, use your terms correctly.
Use your words.
Yeah, because it is Shops. And so you got to get people used to saying what it is. Facebook Shops. And the shops are on your business page if you don't have one. And you're going to be very, especially if you're specific, like Stephanie in the chat's a great example. She's the queen of making her own clothes and selling the old patterns.
Oh, so cool.
She already built her own website to do it, and she gets great sales from that. And so I want to emulate her with Tiki stuff on my Facebook shop. Because even when they do start charging fees, I know from behind closed doors information that Facebook wants to rule everything, and they don't need to charge a lot because they already got a shit ton of money. And so they were going to charge nothing at all. And so I think they're going to charge something, but I think it's going to be very low compared to the rest of the platforms that we are on. Don't give up the other platforms, stay on them. But if you have a following, Tiki, Stephanie with her sewing patterns, use it and start advertising, start pushing people there, because I'll tell you, they cut a great deal with shipping too. 2 pounds anywhere in the country, including Alaska and Hawaii, is $8. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
And just
5 pounds is $12. That's amazing too.
And this is different than the Facebook marketplace where I sell stuff, which is where Anna, Jason knows we did kind of a remodel and I dejunked the house. And so I was selling stuff on there and it was great. Like some chairs that are perfectly nice, but they didn't match anymore. Put them on there. Someone has them, made my money. They paid through Easy Pay or so, I don't know what it was, but I signed up for it and I got my money and I got the stuff. Oh, and a pachinko machine. I sold that too. That was really nice. Because it was too big and heavy for me to deal with selling on eBay. So I just did a front porch pickup and it was gone. And the guy was so excited. He wanted it for his collection. So.
And funny you said that, Sabrina, because I just realized, okay, January, because there was a little bit of a learning curve and there still is on the set up the shop, but I can do my preliminary webinar in January, how to do it, to get it going, because there was a hiccup that I figured out my own workaround at the last hour when I had 1,000 people angrily messaging me, where's the mug? You think I don't want it to be for sale? There's a hiccup. I got to fix it.
That's so cool. I love that you did that.
Debbie said, do you know which form we have to give people that sell on consignment for? People hate to hear me talk about it. So I got like 3 or 4 people I sell on consignment for. What form do I give them, or what do I have them fill out?
It's a 1099 and they fill out a W-9, And the W-9 has their name, address, and social security number, or whatever taxpayer ID they're using. And then at year end, you give them a 1099 if they're paid $600 or more. And people say, well, I didn't ask for it up front. It's a pain and I don't want to do it. I know, but that's just part of doing this. It's really not that bad. And also, just a little pro tip, you can go to Office Depot and get the forms, but I have an online platform I use. I think it's like Adam's Tax Forms or something. I only go in there once a year, but they do every bit of it for me. All I have to put in is the name, the address, the social security number, and how much I paid them. They literally do the rest, and it's like $20.
Yep, I use that too. You always forget how to get it. I do. I always forget how to get it going, and then once I remember, it takes no time. Exactly. All my 1099s go out, and I'm good.
You don't have to go get that red thing, those red forms from Office Depot, and spend $80 and blow up a day trying to do it. It's a nightmare. I don't even like to do that, so that'll really help.
You guys have encouraged me to put everything under one umbrella. I work out of my apartment, and a lot of my inventory equipment I have to log in with the town is the same for both ventures. All right, cool.
Good. I'm glad you got some clarity. And, people make a decision now based on what they know, and you can always change it in the future.
Can we have more than one business store on Facebook? I think it was a question for Facebook, but yeah, I think I had the opportunity to do it on my other pages too. For now, I'm just going to focus on Tiki because I have so much extra that I got to get rid of anyway. So I'm going to focus on that. I know, shocker, but I might turn on like a thrifting treasures page on one of my other business pages, but let me work out all the kinks on Tiki, and then I'll teach you guys. And then I'll go to store number 2, and then I'll teach you how to run 2 stores. But I got to tell you, Facebook has made it very easy. You go in, there's your order, you click buy the shipping, spits out, it automatically sends the tag. I mean, they've made it really simple once you get it rolling. So
I think it's going to be big. And this isn't like Anna accountant. It's Anna like person. I mean, why wouldn't they do this? It makes sense.
And I'm excited because I'm on the forefront. I'm already selling wares, and I didn't have to spend nothing. They already built it. I just gotta put my decorations in my storefront. Like my brother's micro business. I'm a micro business and Facebook shops. And so I just got to pretty up my store and make people want to walk in and give me money.
Well, they can see your precious face and they'll just want to come in and buy whatever you have.
Yay. Oh, well, good job, chat. Good questions tonight. Anyone who didn't watch us live, please, I'm glad you watched it after the fact, hopefully, because a lot of times we all have the same kind of questions. But Anna is in the secret beach. And of course, let's show it again. Please make sure to go over to Accounting We Will Go and join. It's a free group. All kinds of good stuff going on in there. Tips and tricks and all that good stuff. There's no buy my Ray-Bans and see my boobs going on. So nope. Anna says we are safe from all of that.
I try to stop that. And, I do answer the questions and it is important to me. And also there's something called the search bar. You can always search and look first. But sometimes you search and you can't find it, so then ask. I don't know if you guys have seen that problem in other groups, because someone asks a question and then there's like 800 responses. Try the search bar. I'm like, they only need to read it one time, not 50, just once.
Thanks, Dan and Jason. You are very, very welcome. And if you guys even think about this real quick, we'll end on this note. I don't promote too many other Facebook groups because I do find a lot of them have some bad business practices. And so you guys know that if I'm saying go to this Facebook group, it's going to be a good deal. It's going to be the real deal. It's going to be by people who pay attention to their group, like I pay attention to mine, answer the questions. And so it's no hokiness.
Come join the Nerd Fest.
Yeah, join the Nerd
Fest. Oh, this was so much fun. Good to see you, Miss Peggy. Thank you very much, Jason.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Miss Linda. Nice to see you too.
Thanks for being a friend, my dear. I love hanging out with you, whether it's in Europe or virtually. I'll take whatever.
I know. I can't wait till we can all travel again. I miss that so much. And I know you guys do too. And, we're all just dealing with whatever, but I hope everyone stays healthy, safe, and happy.
Yep. Thank you all very much. Good luck with the rest of the year sales. Don't stop. People buy after Christmas. Do not let off the gas. Now's the time. Keep selling. Don't stop. And then next year, let's get all your numbers correct so you can really see where your business is. All right. So that's our goal. Get everyone's numbers good and correct and make sure you're going in the right direction. And with that, I bid you all adieu. Thank you very much.